All right, everybody. I'm glad to be back with you. This is Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, here at the No Soundbites Allowed podcast, and I am on the TECN TV network. That's right, the Exceptional Conservative Network, where we bring you the commentary you don't get in the major mainstream media. And I do want to remind everyone that on the 28th of April at 2 p.m., I will be speaking at Binghamton University. I am one of the featured speakers. I will be speaking at 2 p.m. At the Liberty Weekend, which is brought to you by the Binghamton University College Libertarians and the Binghamton University College Republicans. There will be many speakers on the 27th. There will be Larry Sharp of the Libertarian Party. There will be my good friend, Dr. Giovanni Scaringi. I will be speaking on red flags, the Second Amendment, and related issues, and I'll also have a Q&A after the speech. I invite you all. It's open to the public. It's open to the media. Please come down. I think it is going to be a great event. But without much more ado, what I also want to do is introduce to the program our guest, Jennifer L. Lawrence, the Communications Director of We Build the Wall. Jennifer, you can hear me all right, yes?
Yes, I
Oh,
hear you.
oh, perfect. And you're coming across perfectly on our side as well. And for those who are not aware, when I was over at CPAC this year, you were there as well. We were scheduled to have an interview, and President Trump decided to go off script, off the teleprompter, and just talk with us. I covered all of that, and I have video of that on the site, but that stopped us from being able to have a conversation then. I kind of think it's good, though, because now we get to talk about so much more, don't you think?
I absolutely agree.
Oh, yeah. And I know, let's start off first of all. A lot of people may not be familiar with you. I mean, you have a great career. You've done quite a few things already in your career, working with several campaigns, especially in 2018, before you got into We Build the Wall. And then you've had great success with that, raising $26 million already. Can you tell the audience a little bit about you and how did you get to We Build the Wall?
So I'm actually originally from New York. I'm from the Catskills, Roscoe, New York. And I also graduated from New York Military Academy, the same military boarding school that President Trump graduated from. So I'm originally from New York. My whole family's from New York, born and raised. Um, I have I was, yeah, as you mentioned, I worked on campaigns and a bunch of different political groups and nonprofits. And then during the 2016 election, I was a reporter for Breitbart News, covering the campaign and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff that happened. And then, I stayed in touch with a lot of people, and I've made a lot of connections over the years. And we were introduced to Brian Colfage a couple months before Christmas. And then right before Christmas, he came to Dustin Stockton and I and told us that he wanted to start a GoFundMe. He was aggravated with what was going on in the political world in regards to illegal immigration, and he wanted to do something about it. And much to a lot of people's surprise, we started raising vast amount of money very quickly. At one point, we were raising $500,000 an hour on GoFundMe. And with those donations were coming messages that people didn't trust the government. They didn't trust that if we gave the government this money, that they were actually going to use it for the border wall. So Brian and a couple others of us came together in DC, and we put together one of the foremost boards on illegal immigration. Steve Bannon is the CEO of our board of advisors, along with Sheriff David Clark is on there, Tom Tancredo, Chris Kolbach is on there. We have the Angel families on there. So people who are very foremost in their field. And then we also have people who are industrialists such as John Moran of Moran Logistics. We also have Eric Prince, who we all know Eric Prince and all the stuff that he's done around the world. So we have people that not only have the brains behind it, they also have the resources and the ability to implement it. And we're actually going to be breaking ground. So what we came up with is that we're going to be building the wall. on private land along the southern border. We have been approached by landowners who really are unhappy with how they are living on our southern border. You know, they're getting robbed and their houses burglarized, and it's very disturbing what's going on. And we want to do something about it, and we are going to start this border wall within the next month.
Oh, in the next month. That's
Yeah.
a little bit of a surprise. Didn't know you guys were that far into it.
Yeah.
Do you know which section, or is it in California, Texas?
We are not releasing the date or the location of the place we're building, just because of security reasons and
No,
legal reasons.
makes sense.
We're not releasing that information, but I will tell you it's along the southern border wall, and it's not just in a place where it's not going to make a difference. You know, we're not just putting up a wall to say we put up a wall. We want to put up a wall in an area that it's going to make a difference. So we looked at the most highly trafficked areas on the border of human trafficking and drug smuggling. You know, that's where we're going to make a difference, is places like that.
Well, that makes a big difference, and I applaud you for that, and especially private citizens getting involved and doing something that helps everyone. I mean, part of the reason why we have such a bad fentanyl problem right now and so many people dying from that is because the fentanyl is coming over from China through Mexico, and it makes its way into the Northeast, and it's a problem, and it's been killing people. So anything that stops that is a positive, and I want to thank you for that. And I know many people here in the Northeast and in New York State, where we have such a big problem, they're very happy you're doing what you're doing as well. So,
Well, thank you. No, it's an American problem, and some people might think that it's just like, oh, I live in New York, or oh, I live in North Dakota, it doesn't affect me. Well, it does affect you, and you have people dying in your communities from heroin overdoses and fentanyl overdoses. That is originating down on our southern border, and through their trafficking routes is making its way all the way up to places like New York.
absolutely, and that's a big problem, and I agree with you. Now, obviously, since the last time we saw each other over at CPAC, there's been a lot that's happened. And one of the big things, of course, we've seen that President Trump has gone and gotten some funding for part of the wall already. We see that there's been a lot of support amongst the general public about this, but we see a big refusal by Democrats to even try and move forward. And they've tried everything from the Mueller report to what we see just in this last week, outright denial of the idea of accepting illegal immigrants into sanctuary cities. And what have you guys been thinking about that as you've been hearing all this news come out?
Yeah, you know, it really goes to show that politicians are so far out of touch, that they don't realize the reality that's going on around them. And Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsome and all these Democrats who are coming out and saying that they don't want they're mad at President Trump because he wants to send the illegal immigrants into the sanctuary cities. Well, I would say to them, you know, it's the reason we're having this problem is because you are giving an incentive, and you are incentivizing these illegal immigrants to make this perilous journey through Mexico to the southern border, to step foot in our country, which is breaking the law. Whether you're claiming amnesty or not, that's breaking the law, trying to enter this country illegally. And now, you know, they're making their ways to places like San Francisco and little towns. And if they want to keep incentivizing these people here and keep passing laws within these communities that make people want to come here, then it's blood on their hands, honestly, because every single day we are seeing stories. And spend some time with angel families, spend some time with Steve Ronenbach, who lost his son, or Marianne Mendoza, who lost her son to illegal immigrants who were illegally in this country. And what you're hearing is these people have been twice, 3, 4, 5 times deported, and then they came back here and committed another crime. So every single life that an American loses due to an illegal immigrant coming into this country and committing a crime, then it is blood on the hands of the politicians, and they should lose their jobs.
Yeah, those are unnecessary losses of life. It's something that is easily prevented, and we should be aware, and we should, be honest with ourselves and everyone about that, because they don't need to be in our nation. They broke the law. That's just a fact, and that they're not they're. I love how they always like to say, well, they're undocumented migrants or undocumented workers. Well, the document they're missing is any authorization to be in the nation. I actually was talking about that just before you came on. I wrote that article about that in 2010. It hasn't changed. It's just
no,
amazing.
and what's even more disturbing is back in February, we went down to McAllen, Texas, or it might have been January, and we brought our whole board down with us. We had Tom Tancredo and Sheriff David Clark and Chris Kobach and all these people, and we were driving along the border. We were doing a border tour, and we were in a series of white SUVs. And as we were driving along, a whole group of 40 migrants who had just illegally crossed into the country came walking out of the brush at us. And they tried to turn themselves into us because they thought we were DHS. And we explained to them, like, no, we're not DHS. And they got mad at us because we weren't giving them food and we weren't giving them water. And then they asked us, well, where can we find DHS? So we pointed them down the road for them to go find DHS. And that is the thing. And this is why there's incentive to come here. They know that then when they get here, they cross over, they find a Border Patrol agent. They say, hey, I'm seeking amnesty. And because there's the 1 foot rule, that once they put 1 foot on American soil, they're now our problem. So they give them food, they give them water, and they process them and give them a court date and send them out into our communities. They're not even getting medically screened anymore. We're not doing background checks. We don't know who these people are, right? And when we have groups such as Al-Qaeda and ISIS and MS-13 who want to come here and do harm to us, those people can exploit that border just as well as the migrants are exploiting that border. And it's really disturbing that, once again, Democrats do not care about the American people. They care about their own wallets and they care about what they want instead of what's good for the American people.
Well, I don't know if you heard this, but earlier this week, actually on Monday, Nancy Pelosi mentioned that she thought, in her words, she was saying that a glass of water with a D next to its name would be elected just as easily as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or any other Democrat. I think that says a lot about what Democrats think of their constituents, their rank and file voters out there, when they say that they're as dumb as a glass of water and they're programmed to just vote Democrat straight down the line. I think that's insulting, and I think it also explains why, when given the opportunity to take in the illegal aliens that they keep saying that they love and they promote in all these laws, that they're saying no. It just shows their hypocrisy and how little they really care about the issues. They're more worried about power, I think. You may disagree, of course. Those are my thoughts.
No, absolutely, I agree. And, they need to reap what they sow. And I think it was very telling that I think it was Cory Booker who said bringing the migrants to New Jersey would make it more unsafe. And I think that's the honest truth right there. It makes it more unsafe. When people were coming into Ellis Island, there was a process. When my family, who are immigrants, immigrated to this country, there was a process. You cannot just have a porous open border. You need to have a border. You need to have a country with sovereignty. And you have to have a country where we know who's here. We want people who are going to add to our society and not become leeches on our society.
I agree with that completely. And that's why, 76 other nations around the world right now have walls as well to enforce their borders, including Mexico and several countries in South America, which doesn't get reported a whole lot, but they have walls too.
No, and if you illegally enter Iraq or Iran, you get shot. You illegally enter Russia, you get shot. We're the only country who oh wait, you're entering illegally? Hold up, let's get you some water, let's get you some food, let's get you a bus ticket, we'll teach you how to get on welfare. It's ridiculous what is going on, especially when we have veterans and we have American citizens who aren't even getting that treatment. And we're giving it to people who are migrating here knowingly, doing it illegally.
Oh, absolutely. And let me ask, obviously you're from New York, upstate New York, and I'm in upstate New York as well. And in matter of fact, you recognized exactly where I was just from the phone number. So when you hear New York State is going out and they've given illegal aliens $27 million, even though we're losing money, we're losing population, they're continuing to raise our taxes by over $2 billion. And to use that money to give illegal aliens free college. But they won't even give that to the Gold Star families. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it makes me feel horrible for the people who aren't receiving the benefits that they deserve. But unfortunately, you have a socialistic mayor in New York City named Bill de Blasio. You have Cuomo, who's in office, and then you have all the little minions that run around New York State and try to ruin the beauty that is New York State. The policies that have been enacted by the Democrats in New York State have absolutely ruined that state, to the point, myself included, have moved out of New York. And every time I go back, it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. And it's actually getting to the point that the liberal media isn't able to ignore the problems that are going on in New York City, how unsafe it is to ride the subway. Like when I walk down the street in New York City now, I literally see homeless people with tents and bedside tables and mattresses, like living on the street. Like that's not okay. And that's not a quality of life. And I think that's something that's not talked about either, right? These Democrats are incentivizing these illegal aliens and the homeless to live like that. They are not giving them better options. And I think that's where, and the Republicans, we have problems too. It's not just the Democrats.
True.
But what the Democrats are doing by incentivizing these people is putting all of us in harm's way.
Well, I think it's diverting a lot of funds that could be going to our veterans, to our homeless. Nancy Pelosi's district is filled. It's rampant. I believe, according to Share, in LA, there's 50,000 homeless. I mean, that's Share. It's not a Republican. It's Share saying that you can't have these illegal aliens. They can't handle more of them. And the city's already got massive problems. But yet we're seeing the leadership say, no, we need more. And we need to give them more, even though we don't have enough to take care of our own, or at least we're not allocating it to our own. So do you think that if we build the wall, that would help to alleviate that problem? Because I know a lot of people say, well, it won't do anything. What do you?
Yeah, I absolutely do think it'll alleviate the problem. If you see a huge wall standing in front of you, you're going to try to look for some other way to get through it. And obviously, we're not going to be able to put up 2,000 miles of border wall, right?
Right.
But in the places where it's highly trafficked, in the places where it makes it easy for people to cross that border, that is where we need a border. I've spent a lot of time at the border. I've seen the quote unquote border wall. And I think the walls around the mansion down in New York City are better than our border wall in some places on our southern border. People have walls. You go to LA, all of these actors and actresses have these huge walls around their place, and it's like, well, if walls don't work, then why do you bother putting that up? It's more of a deterrent, right?
Right.
And it's saying that instead of having an open area, that's just inviting. But if you have a wall there, if you have a physical barrier, that's telling people that you're not welcome here. There's a door down that way. There's a process to come here legally, and you're more than welcome to do it. And one thing I would like to add is I also think that it's our responsibility as Americans who want immigrants here, because we want immigrants to come here. We need to make that process, easier for people. We've had people waiting on immigration lines for 10, 12, 15 years waiting to come to the United States. And now we have people just hopping the border. So we're actually punishing the people who tried to do it the right way.
Yeah, and
that's not right either.
No, that's a big problem, and I agree. Like most people, we're not saying that reform can't be done, but we need to really think this out and think of the consequences and not promote more crime, which is what we're seeing happening here, because it is a crime. They're not undocumented. They're illegal. They're breaking the law actively and purposefully, and we need to keep that in mind.
And what's scary is they're also being incentivized to bring children now.
Yeah.
We had some of our board members down at the border earlier this week, and we were talking to some people, and they have literally had hitmen for the cartel, turn themselves in as hitmen for the cartel. But since they had a child with them, they were able to go through. They can't stop people with children. So the bad guys, the bad ones who want to come here, know that even though I might look like a gangster and, I have all these tattoos and I'm obviously not a good person, as long as I bring a child with me, I'm going to get through. And that's scary. That's scary. And that promotes human smuggling. And that promotes child abduction. And we can't have things like this. And we can't be incentivizing this as a country to other countries.
No, I agree completely. I would be remiss if I didn't ask a question about the wall in particular, because people go, well, you put up a 10-foot, 12-foot, 15-foot fence, and they'll just make a 16-foot ladder or something like that. Can you tell us, how does the wall that you're building or planning to build, does it go down into the ground, or what's it like?
I would have to get the construction team on that.
Okay.
I know that we are doing everything to support the president. And we are doing everything to make sure that the wall we build will meet the specifications and will match up to a current border wall that's there, or be a wall that is to be built. But we know that, this is a huge project, and the way the Democrats have prevented and blocked President Trump from protecting the American people and protecting American sovereignty, we've seen this in history. Not the same kind of thing, but when the Transcontinental Railroad was built, that was built by private company. Right? That was not a government subsidized thing. That was a bunch of people coming together and building something that the nation needed desperately. And that's something that accelerated us into different ages, into different ways of life. So I think that the American people coming together to fund our own project, to use private companies to build on private land, that's something that's innovative. And I think that it's a way that the American people can take the power back from the government, and to prove to them, because their whole thing is they're supposed to fund our projects, right? They're supposed to take care of us and keep our roads done, and they have failed miserably, Republicans and Democrats, at taking care of the American people. They have put themselves first. They've put the good old boys first. They've joined their little cliques in DC, and they've forgotten the people who got them there. And we are standing up, and We Build the Wall is a great example of how the American people can stand up, say that we have our own money, because they're always telling us money talks, right, in government.
Sure.
Well, we have our own money. We don't need you. So we're going to be doing this, and you can approve of it and support us, or you can go against us and be voted out of office. But either way, we're going to be building this wall.
I hope so. I'm supporting that, and I believe in it. And I've shown it on the video several times here in the podcast. The site that people can go to even learn more about this and also to make donations is the webuildthewall.us. So it's not
.com. webuildthewall.us, and then all of our social media properties are at We Build the Wall. So we actually answer questions, and we'll get back to you. And the GoFundMe's still up. You can still go donate on GoFundMe. So it's still there.
Absolutely. I do want to ask, we've got about 3 minutes left here, thereabouts. I always like to mention, I know we've covered a lot of different subjects here. We've gone through the reaction by Newsome and Pelosi, the thought of taking sanctuary cities, the 560 sanctuary cities, and giving them to illegal aliens. We've talked about the wall, the impact on drugs and child trafficking. But is there anything we haven't talked about, any issue that you would like to mention that I haven't addressed yet or that we haven't covered?
No, I think it's just really important for people to realize that this is a crisis. It's not a manufactured crisis. It's a real crisis. And it affects every single American. And every American should really take a hard look at how the Democrats are acting. Um, sorry.
Sorry.
Um, and we need to have a border wall. It's not racist. It's for the sovereignty of our country. Yes, it's to keep people out, but we also have ways for people to come in who are good people, who are going to add to our society, and who we can check out. And, the measles outbreak in New York is really scary. But you have to look back 6 months ago. The big story out of the border was that there were measles outbreaks at the quarantine camps. Um,
Oh yeah.
and if that was happening then, 6 months later, now you have measles outbreaks all over the country. It really like begs the question of like, how did this all happen? And we need to be medically screening people. If I go to another country, I have to get a certain shots to protect myself from the diseases that they have in that country. But if we are just allowing, and it's not just people from Mexico, it's not just people from Honduras, they have caught people from Indonesia and places way far away from our southern border who literally flew to exploit our southern border and come into the United States. They're carrying diseases, they're carrying sicknesses that we haven't been exposed to as Americans. And we need to be screening people better, and we need to know what's coming into our country. And the only way to do that is to build a wall, and really take a hard look at our immigration system. But it starts with building the wall. And that's what we are doing at webuildthewall.us.
That's right. Well, everything starts with defense. We have to be able to. That's why we have a Second Amendment. We have to be able to defend ourselves. A wall is a peaceful way to do that, to help maintain our country and to protect ourselves, as you mentioned, from not only just drugs, but also, as you mentioned, the potential of just measles and other diseases that were eradicated here but exist in other parts of the world. It's a good point, and I don't think enough people talk about it. So I thank you for that. And I do
You're
want.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to coming back on and updating you on all the progress we're going to be making.
Absolutely. You said it's about a month. So in a month, when the wall goes up, I definitely want to be on that list of some of the first people to talk with you about that and see what's going on there. Okay?
Sounds good. Will do. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, Jennifer. And again, folks, that was
Thank you.
Jennifer Lawrence of the We Build the Wall. And it's a great organization. I want you to check it out. Remember that we are here on TECN every Tuesday, every Thursday at 1 p.m. and on Saturday from 12 noon until 2 p.m. I will also be at the Liberty Weekend on April 28th at 2 p.m. It is open to the public. It is open to the media. I invite you to be down there. I'll take your questions. I'll be happy to do so. And most of all, please also remember your donations keep our lights on. Help us keep our podcast alive for the audio. Help us keep the lights on for the entire program. Donate if it's $1, it's $2, whatever you can do. We appreciate that. And I'm out of time today, but it was a great show. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday, the 20th at noon. And we'll be back then soon.